We all know Donald Trump has a long list of enemies. Iran, Democrats, the far-left radicals known as the Catholic Church. But there's only one opponent that Trump hates so much that when he goes after them, he actually becomes them.
You know, the windmills, boom, boom.
Desi Lydic walked onto The Daily Show and did something that genuinely no one was expecting. She didn't go after tariffs, didn't bring up the economy, rallies, or executive orders. Instead, she chose to focus on one very specific thing, something that has been quietly getting under Donald Trump's skin for nearly 14 years. And once she grabbed onto that thread, she kept pulling at it, slowly but steadily, until the entire thing started to unravel right there on national television. And the topic she decided to put under the spotlight, the one obsession she really wanted to examine closely, was windmills.
Windmills, wing, wind,
That's right. Whether it's a person from another country or an inanimate object, Trump will do the accent.
Yes, windmills. Not some breaking scandal, not a fresh headline that just dropped, but a long-running, deeply personal grudge that has been sitting there for over a decade. The kind of thing that feels almost impossible to explain if you're hearing it for the first time. And Desi, with her signature straight-face delivery, looked directly into the camera and made it clear, this is worth talking about properly. Not as a quick joke, not as a throwaway line, but as something that actually needs to be unpacked step by step.
Will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains, and I'm not talking about airplanes, I'm talking about beautiful plains, beautiful areas in the United States, and you look up and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. The whole...
Yes, windmills. Not some breaking scandal, not a fresh headline that just dropped, but a long-running, deeply personal grudge that has been sitting there for over a decade. The kind of thing that feels almost impossible to explain if you're hearing it for the first time. And Desi, with her signature straight-face delivery, looked directly into the camera and made it clear, this is worth talking about properly. Not as a quick joke, not as a throwaway line, but as something that actually needs to be unpacked step by step.
Lines made in China are going to be the destruction and almost a total destruction of your tourism industry. He did want me to come to Scotland. He did want me to spend, as I said, tens of millions of pounds, and he did think that was an asset, and it is an asset. I've created an absolute jewel.
And Trump didn't just complain about it. He escalated things in a very serious way. In 2012, he wrote a formal letter to Scotland's First Minister, Alex Salmond, warning about what he called the damage these turbines would cause. In that letter, he claimed that installing them would do more harm to Scotland than almost any event in its history. He was comparing a small group of offshore wind turbines to some of the country's worst disasters, all because they would be visible from his golf course. And it didn't stop there. He went as far as appearing before the Scottish Parliament, presenting himself as an expert on green energy. The case eventually made its way through the courts and reached the highest level. In 2015, the final ruling came in, and he lost. The turbines were built, and they are still there today, spinning just off the coast.
Hillary wanted to put up wind. If you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations. Your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You tell me that one, okay? You know, the thing makes it so... And of course, it's like a graveyard for birds. If you love birds, you'd never want to walk under a...
This is the part that Desi Lydic seemed to enjoy breaking down the most. The way a very specific, personal frustration about a golf course slowly turned into a broader political stance. By the time Trump became president, he wasn't just talking about Scotland anymore. In 2019, during a Republican fundraiser, he told a room full of donors that windmills could cause cancer. He didn't present evidence, didn't cite any research, he simply passed it along, like something he had heard and decided to repeat. It spread quickly. forcing fact-checkers, scientists, and even the American Cancer Society to respond. But by the time those corrections came out, he had already moved on to the next topic.
An economy based on wind. I never understood wind. You know, I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody. I know it's very expensive. They're made in China and Germany mostly. Very few made here, almost none. But they're manufactured tremendous, if you're into this, tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. You know, we have a world, right? So the world is tiny compared to the universe. So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. You talk about the carbon footprint. Fumes are spewing into the air, right? Spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air, it's our air, their air, everything.
And if that moment caught people off guard, his rally performances took things even further. Trump didn't just criticize wind energy as policy, he openly mocked it. He acted it out, used gestures, and kept adding new claims over time. First, it was about property values dropping. Then came the cancer claims. After that, he started talking about birds, repeatedly mentioning so-called bird graveyards under wind turbines. Journalists actually began tracking how often he brought this up. He described scenarios that didn't even exist yet. Then, in 2023, he added another claim, this time about whales, saying offshore turbines were somehow affecting them.
Noticed is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills, and yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them, but they don't use them themselves. They put up a couple of big wind farms, but they don't use them. They just put them up to show people what they could look like. They don't spin, they don't do anything. They use a thing called coal.
Then came one of the most surprising statements, delivered on a global stage. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump told an audience of international business leaders that China produces windmills, but doesn't actually use them. The problem with that claim is simple. China is the largest user of wind energy in the world. It has more wind farms, more turbines, and more output than any other country. But despite that, he presented the opposite, as if it were a hidden truth, something the world wasn't being told.
He's hated windmills forever, ever since 2012, when they hurt the thing Trump loves the most. No, not that. Not that either. I'm talking about his golf courses.
The focus of his outrage, a proposed wind farm off the coast and in eyesight of Trump's.
This is exactly where Desi Lydic did what she does best. Instead of looking at each of these moments separately, one claim here, another there, she lined them all up. She arranged everything in chronological order, starting from Scotland in 2006 all the way to Davos in 2026. And when you see it that way, the full picture becomes clear. What started as a personal irritation about a golf course view slowly grew into something much bigger, eventually shaping how he talked about energy on a national level. And then she pointed out something that tied it all together in a very unexpected way. Trump's dislike of windmills didn't just come across as political, it felt personal. Especially when you consider how often wind itself becomes an issue during his public appearances. The connection becomes obvious the moment you think about it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times.
Are you failing?
Are you
You see
concerned?
circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are
What's
you
going on
concerned
with it?
that your threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to
No,
war
no.
crimes?
Because wind is the one thing he can't control. He can't negotiate with it, can't take it to court. and can't redirect it with a press conference. Every time he speaks outdoors, whether it's at the White House or during a rally, there's always that moment. You've seen it, everyone has, when the wind hits at just the wrong angle and suddenly everything shifts. There's a pause, a quick adjustment, a brief moment where control slips. It's subtle, but it stands out.
Good, Harry. What's your name again? John Miller. What is your position? Well, I'm sort of handling PR because you get so much of it.
On this tape, the person on it talks about his dating exploits, goes on about his divorce, things like that. I guess the simple question this morning, are you aware of the tape? Is it you?
No, I don't think it, I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time, and it doesn't sound like my voice at all. I have many, many people that are trying to imitate my voice, and you can imagine that. And this sounds like one of the scams, one of the many scams. Doesn't sound like me.
The Post says that you acknowledged a couple decades ago that, in fact, that was you, but it was a joke.
I don't think it was me. It doesn't sound like me. I don't know even what they're talking about.
At the same time, reporters have been documenting these claims for years, not through complicated investigations, but simply by comparing what he says over time. They show up to press events with transcripts and clips from previous speeches, and often, when confronted, he either denies saying those things or quickly changes the subject. It's something journalists have come to expect.
It's not the first time the president has gone after wind energy. Earlier this year, the president also claimed that noise from those wind turbines causes cancer. Fact-checked. It doesn't. Donna, we talked about facts. We quoted that woman today from Michigan, so facts don't matter. This president is Professor Erwin Corey, the world's greatest authority now on birds, on wind energy, how cancer is caused. And don't people say we don't need wacky?
Well, you know, in some other universe, we'd be laughing at this guy. This is really not funny. He's in front of a group of young people basically just making stuff up. And what he said there was completely made up. There was not a single bit of scientific or fact-based evidence behind what he...
Desi made it clear that this isn't random. It follows a pattern. First, a claim is made. Then, if challenged, it gets repeated or reinforced. If the pressure continues, it gets denied. And if that still doesn't work, the conversation shifts completely. It's a cycle that repeats again and again, regardless of the topic.
We will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains. And I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about beautiful plains, beautiful areas in the United States. And you look up and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. It's the most expensive form of energy. It's no good. They're made in China, almost all of them. When they start to rust and rot in 8 years, you can't really turn them off. You can't bury them. They won't let you bury the propellers, you know, the props, because there's a certain type of fiber that doesn't go well with the land. That's what
Eventually, analysts and commentators started addressing it directly. On MSNBC, one panelist spoke plainly, saying that these statements weren't misunderstandings or outdated information. They were simply being made up. And even Trump himself hinted at that when he said, "they say," while repeating the cancer claim. It wasn't sourced, it wasn't verified, it was just repeated.
The world embraces alternative forms of energy, America is falling behind. And if that makes you feel powerless and stressed out, remember, no matter what Trump is doing to the country, you always have the power to take a beat and center yourself.
Then came a moment that almost felt symbolic. In 2025, Trump returned to Scotland and stood at the same golf course where all of this started. He looked out at the turbines, still there, still spinning, and called them some of the ugliest things he had ever seen. Not the most harmful policy, not the biggest economic issue, just the ugliest. Despite losing every legal challenge, the frustration hadn't changed at